Howdy-ho there, neighbor. Hope everyone's well. I am still dealing with some pain and software to deal with said pain, so I'm a little scattered today. Sorry about that. Anyway, just a brief ramble, but I felt like I should do something. And I had an idea in the middle of the night, and actually talked about it on social media for a little bit. Thought I'd talk about it here. So, I always like stories of faith. This is not to say that I am religious. In fact, quite the contrary. I'm not so much anti-religious. I don't hate on people who are religious. It's just not. I never found any satisfaction or answers to questions I wanted answered. So I tend to be more on the agnostic end of the spectrum. That said, I love a good story of faith. That this as a philosophical notion, as a moment of clarity for a particular character and how they make their decisions and their worldview. The Babylon 5 had one of my favorites. There are a number of other shows over the years that, faith was part of the conversation. While I may not have faith, it doesn't mean that I don't find it interesting. Now, that said, I was thinking last night about that, and I realized that I don't like stories with angels. Specifically games with angels and how they handle angels in D&D in particular. But there are some others out there that I don't like. Angels and demons. To me, angels, a well-done angel story is actually the movie Prophecy, where the conflict, if viewed as a game, if you will, is the PC has to resolve their own internal conflicts to, help fight this philosophical debate between angels. And it's a much more internal and what does this mean to the main characters and such, and less, superpowered beings with, God complexes having it out in the middle of the street. It's, one of the things that don't like about the D&D version of angels and demons is that they're pretty much just, here's a monster to fight. They're very rarely handled in a manner that is indicative of philosophical difference or a chance for the player to explore their own, not the players, but the player character's own internal relationships with the divine. Now, part of that, is going to be up to a lot of the structural differences in D&D as opposed to some other games. But it was something that had occurred to me. And I talked about it on social media, and a few of my friends came up with a few extra thoughts. And my own personal belief is that this may be due to the fact that angels and demons generally come from monotheistic origins, right? Judeo-Christian, Zoroastrian. For the most part, here's one good God and one bad entity who may or may not be a god, and then the servants of those entities. It was sort of a binary conversation. One friend of mine suggested that perhaps it might be more interesting to return angels to being more messengers, and that instead of having them be these divine heavy hitters who show up and put things down, they're the guys that show up and tell you things that you need to know from that god. pretty cool, and turn demons closer to their fear origins, and maybe have all of their stuff about terror and what have you. Which that's something. Another friend brought up that in the campaign that she plays in and another friend runs, angels are treated differently depending on the god. So he comes up with a different flavor to the angel for one god, and then a different flavor for an angel for a completely different god. So, as an example, and I don't know how he handles it in his game, but as an example, you might have, here's a god of knowledge, and here's an angel who is much more themed along the lines of providing information or helping you to seek knowledge, whereas a god of, a god of magic might be much more like a font of arcane energies and arcane spells and what have you. So these are interesting notions as well. I also like the devil as a deal maker theme. I think Robert Johnson is an awesome story. Even if it's not true, it's still an awesome story of the guy who goes and makes a deal with the devil so he can play better than anyone else, and then eventually that deal comes back on him. The notion of devils as a supplier of things as a means of your own destruction, your own desires working against you, providing for that, as a whole structure to how devils work. I like that. It's something that occurred to me. It's been boiling in my head a bit. I think that angels in D&D are kind of boring. Demons and devils, for the most part, are kind of boring in D&D. I tend to trade out, like, in a story where you might have a demon, I might pick some other kind of weird creature, but just because I don't want to deal with the baggage, and I feel like it's not good storytelling the way it's set up now. I don't know. Have you, I'm going to put this question out to the people who watch. Do you guys, use angels or demons in your games? And if so, how do you use them? Do you use them, as the classic sort of heavy metal rock and roll version of devils and angels, where they're there to have epic battles, in which case, what do the PCs do in that? I don't know. It's something that occurred to me that's worth talking about, I guess. Anyway, I think I've talked myself out a bit. I'm going to wrap this up. Subscribe, like, share with all the people. Contribute to the Patreon, and if you can, no judgment if you can't. I'm going to keep doing this anyway. But I hope that this was entertaining. I'm sorry if I'm a little out of it. Like I said, I'm a little out of it. So I'll talk to you later, and have fun.